there. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are doing well. I am so glad that you are here. And welcome to the 11th day of 12 days of a scandalous Christmas story. I cannot believe that we are literally one day away from the end of this series. And I have literally been enjoying doing this series. And I hope that you have enjoyed watching and going down the nostalgia train with me and going through stories that we have, really been about Christmas and seasons past. Just giving a little bit of a break from the current situations going down in modern time. And sometimes you just need a little bit of escape. And so I thought, well, let's go back in the time machine and let's do just that. So I am so glad that you are here with me today. And yeah, I am excited to bring to you another nostalgic story. And we are going to be going back like a little bit further than yesterday. And yeah, so we're going to definitely get back in our time machines and let's go and do that. And of course, I am featuring my mug here, my red ornament mug that I so love. I think it's so pretty. I love this red on here. It's really, really gorgeous. And again, I've been sharing that I had a friend of mine that actually gifted it to me within a Christmas basket that I thought was so adorable and really, really appreciated. And I don't get a chance to pull out the mug very often because sometimes I kind of forget to pull out my Christmas mugs during this season. And so this gave me an opportunity to do just that and go back down nostalgia, even in that form as well. So that's where we are at, and that is what we are doing. And I am so glad that we are here doing it. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into that time machine, and I'm going to set the stage for you and where we're going. And where that is we're going to the year 2000. That's right, the year 2000, the turn of the millennium, the time frame where everybody was freaking out at the eve of New Year's Eve, into what was going to happen the next day, because everything was supposed to go awry. Computers were supposed to shut down. ATMs were supposed to be just not at all available to us. And I was in the military at that time. And so I remember us being pretty calm about the situation. But it was definitely a thing. It was definitely something to just kind of run around there like a chicken with your head cut off. People were talking about, buying out all of the water and toiletries and all that kind of stuff because you didn't know if we were going to be in the dark all that time or not. It was just kind of crazy. But it also was the time frame that New Year's Eve going into 2000 where they had did something different. And that was that they would show New Year's Eve celebrations around the world, right? What a cool way of bringing in the new millennium. And so someone came up with this great idea, this bright idea. And I'm wondering if you think that that idea was. Well, I'm going to tell you, the idea was so great that it was so simple at the same time. And it was like this. Instead of everybody getting so crazed and scared about what was going to happen at the 12 o'clock strike for New Year's Day, all you had to do to see what was happening and was going to happen as time went on is what happened with the countries that already showed their New Year's Eve celebrations. I mean, it was so simple and smart that it was genius. Now that's genius, right? I mean, everybody, I remember, like I said, myself, I was pretty calm about it. I mean, it was going to be what it was going to be. But there was that fever and that whole situation of being so afraid of what was going to happen, if the clocks were going to turn correctly. And, it just, this whole thing was just going to be just straight chaos. And it was absolutely, I don't remember hearing any issues at all. But from my perspective, it was absolutely nothing. 2000 came in just like any other year previously that came in. But when I heard that from whoever this guy was back then, it was hilarious. The way he said it is like, if you guys really want to know what's going to happen and if the world is really going to come to end at this point, I just watch what happened hours ahead, from all these celebrations, and everyone seemed to be just fine. So yeah, it was a time to be alive. Let me tell you, it was a time to be alive. So yeah, and furthering and stretching into the year 2000, we were looking at the #1 song being a song called Breathe by country star Faith Hill. And according to Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles list, however, it never reached #1 on the weekly chart. So that's quite interesting. So if you remember country star Faith Hill, yeah, that was her song. And I kind of vaguely remember it. Again, it's so many years ago now, but I'm pretty sure it was a pretty popular one because she was pretty popular during that time frame anyways. Now the #1 movie was said to be How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. And keep that noted because we'll be visiting that movie again. And next we found out that the most talked about celebrity at that time was Britney Spears. Yeah, so Britney Spears was talked about quite a bit because that was her coming into, you know, her pop stardom and to our awareness, and doing it one by one with all her hit singles. So it was a really fun time that I recall. At that time I was in the military, living my best life, and yeah, it was a really good time to be had. So there was other things going on as well, and of course, you know, this would be a interesting take if it wasn't about a scandalous story, right? Because we're not really here to talk about all the fun, joyful things about the Christmas season. We're here to talk about the scandals back in the day, because we seem to be hitting a scandal every other day here in 2024. So let's see if it was so permeated back in the day. And I don't think it was ever this kind of crazy, but you know, they've had some moments, right? So the biggest scandal at that point, or one of the biggest scandals, so I'm sure there was many, but the one that caught my eye was the one about Iron Man. That's right, you guessed it, Iron Man. You know who Iron Man is? Well, the one and only Robert Downey Jr. And apparently he was in a real dire straits and had continued woes into the 2000s, because, you know, Robert Downey Jr. has been an actor for a really long time. He's been on the scene, in Tinseltown scene, that is, for a really long time. And he did have a bad boy streak to him as well, and he got himself into some trouble at a period of time. I don't know all of the particulars and details of all those issues. I want to say substance abuse was probably somewhere around in there. Which substance he was abusing, I'm not 100% sure. So I guess I'll have to say all things alleged, because I don't really recall, but maybe, hey, the share might share it. But yeah, he definitely was having his bad boy era at a time. He was also kind of like America's sweetheart in a sense for, you know, the people who actually recognize that kind of a titling, but for a guy, right? So that's what he was too. So he was really, really beloved and liked quite a bit. I don't know if it comes from a dynasty or not of actors or not, but I do kind of remember a little bit about that. I didn't really watch a lot of Robert Downey Jr. back in the day. I really got more familiar with him. There was a movie that he did that I thought was pretty good. It was an older movie. I can't remember the name of it. I guess if I saw it, I would probably can reference it from that point. But I didn't really get really into Robert Downey Jr. until he started doing Iron Man. So that's when I started to kind of like, oh, okay, this guy really is, you know, all that hype. You know, he really is a really good actor. And so, yeah. Now, also the issues and troubles that he got into really called into play about how actors are treated when they get themselves into certain scandals and issues as well. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and start with the sharing though. Now, according to E-Online, we again are talking about Robert Downey Jr. and just get you a little bit more of a close up and a little bit of a reference. Yeah, you see there? That's what he was doing. Yeah, him right here in the orange. Yeah, I was like, wow. I do kind of remember vaguely about some of the troubles, but yeah, this really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? So yeah, here we go. Mugshot and all. Now, on November 25th, 2000, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, the Oscar-nominated actor was arrested in a Palm Springs hotel room for, yes, there you go, DRUG possession. I knew it had something to do with the situation with some type of substance abusing. Now, barely 3 months removed from his year-long stay in prison for violating his probation on other DRUG charges. And of course, naturally, we want to keep this YouTube friendly, so some words I'll have to change up a little bit. Now, an anonymous caller informed the 911 dispatcher that, yeah, I'd just like to let you know that in room 311 at the Merv Griffin Resort, there's a man that has an ounce of, the white powder and a couple of, GUNNs and is pretty upset. Thank you. You know that whole saying, see something, say something, do something. See, he stayed anonymous. He saw a situation and he did the right thing by going in, he or she, whoever this anonymous caller was, and letting somebody know. But I found it to be so interesting how he was so collegiate in the sense of saying, oh, yeah, hey, there's something going on here. And yeah, he seems pretty upset. And yeah, thank you, bye. That's what you do. When you see something, you say something. So yeah, kudos to that person. And maybe probably saved Robert Jr.'s life too. So now, Downey remained free on bail as well as gainfully employed on Ally McBeal. That's right, I forgot he was on Ally McBeal. Now, until the following April, when police picked him up wandering around in an alley in Los Angeles, and the wheels started to come off the train again. Now, back in court in July of 2001, he had pleaded the November bust down to a misdemeanor and returned to rehab, after which with the help of future wife Susan, whom he met making 2003's Gothica sobriety stuck. Now, several years later, he scored the role of Iron Man and has had a slew of happy holidays since. In 2015, then California Governor Jerry Brown had granted Downey an unconditional pardon, applauding the myriad of ways he had put his life back together. Well, isn't that interesting? Wow. I do wonder, though, is that something that's granted to many other individuals? Yes, let's do tell. And that actually leads into the conversation that is being had even to this moment now as we speak, in regards to treatment and how certain individuals are allotted certain allowances that others do not, for certain obvious reasons. So one of the main things that was brought up in this time frame was the concept of, obviously, Jonathan Majors. Now, he's also a big Marvel star. At one point, he was a big actor, really up on the rise, A-lister without a doubt. You know, he did Creed, he did the Ant-Man and Mania movie, and I mean, he just was just going and going. He also did some other acclaimed work as well, and it was really well known for that. Well, then he found himself in a relationship that was obviously a toxic one, and one he shouldn't have been in. I'm pretty sure he was probably aware of that from some time ago, but decided that, you know, he would still be in it anyways. So as we all know, all over the place, I've done videos on the situation as well. So if you haven't seen any of those in regards to his court cases and charges that were brought against him, feel free to take a look at those. But yeah, so Jonathan Majors, again, this big, huge star, lots of people who were backing him, behind him, including, I guess, his management and, you know, the people associated in that field, basically dropped him. Marvel was the only one that held on until the very end of the situation, was then the conviction, right? And so within all of this, he was losing things throughout the year. This happened in 2023. So yeah, and then of course, unceremoniously, you know, Marvel went ahead and dropped him. He was convicted of 2 of the 4 crimes that were placed alleged on him. And yeah, he ended up, if I'm not mistaken, doing some anger management, and it was something else he had to do, maybe some probation or something like that. It's in the last video that I did, actually, as a recap for it and an update to what was going on. But one of the questions was, and what brought up also, was Robert Downey, because Robert Downey, who was the darling of Tinseltown, you know, he was able to do all kinds of reckless behavior. He was running around acting like a fool, really a straight maniac. And well, Marvel ended up bringing him in, and he ended up, you know, really doing whatever he was doing to get himself together. Now he's clean, and now he's, you know, back to A-listing again. Jonathan Majors, not so much. And so the question was obviously stated as to, well, where's the redemption for Jonathan Majors? Now, say whatever you may about the situation. You can feel however you feel about, you know, the case and the things that he did and whether he did it or didn't do it. And there's a lot of, you know, obviously controversy around the charges, around how things were actually played out for Jonathan Majors. Right now he's winning, and I think in the personal department, whereas he has recently now been engaged with actress Megan Good, and that's a good look for him, no pun intended. And you know, hopefully all of that will continue to be a positive situation and a truthful and honest one, right? So at this point, you know, obviously some people feel like, you know, it might be maybe not real and authentic. I hope that that's not the case, but you know, this is not really about Jonathan Majors and all of those things, but it's just going to say, look at the standards being set, right? Here, Downey was doing all kinds of crap, and he was able to kind of, you know, really resurrect his career. And if you didn't know about those things, you would have never known he was all this trouble. You would have just known he was an A+ actor, and he would have, I think the numbers would have been just as comparable for Jonathan Majors as well, you know, because he was really doing his thing with Khan and all. I mean, they were really building something around him. And, you know, Robert Downey was doing great. And again, if you didn't recall or even knew. Some people don't even know that he was into all these shows. I was pretty young when he was doing all these kind of things, but I do remember, yeah, he seemed to be more, to me, known for being in the, the news for doing things he had no business doing than it was for acting. So yeah, it's just, food for thought. I wonder if that's something you maybe thought about. But if so, go ahead, respectfully, thoughtfully, leave it down in the comment section below. We can definitely chat about it. Sometimes double standards or triple standards and quadruple standards are always set against for many different reasons. But that was something that really brought this situation about Robert Downey Jr.'s past into the forefront, about how one can sit here and seamlessly do all kinds of, shenanigans and run around with things that he had no business running around with and getting involved in things. And in all intents and purposes, be given an opportunity to then steer back into life and reclaim his status as if everything was okie dokie. And whereas Jonathan Majors, or people maybe like him, or maybe not even like in his situation, just, certain circumstances like that, are going to struggle a lot more and may not be able to be put back into an opportunity to do the exact same thing. So, I don't know all the details about what happened with Robert Downey Jr. as far as those things, but I do remember Ally McBeal was a top-rated TV show. He was on that while he was doing all the other nonsense. And Iron Man comes out not too long after, I think, Ally McBeal, and then he becomes a mega superstar yet again. So just food for thought on that, right? And the scandalous of it all is, look at it. Look at what's going on. So yeah, so that basically, I say that sums it up for this particular part of the video. So now we're going to move into the actual portion, if you will, where we're talking about a beloved Christmas movie that for all intents and purposes has been loved and shoved down our throats as being one of the most popular and great movies of all time when it comes to the holidays, but not everybody feels that way. So it was quite interesting to see individuals who maybe didn't feel so about these types of movies that we have been made to feel that are the best thing since sliced bread. And some of those, don't mind me, some of them are actually pretty good. But yeah, it was just kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and get into that. And the movie that we're going to be talking about is Elf. I've never actually watched Elf. There was a part in the movie, though, that I thought was really funny because Farrell could be funny at times, where he's like, that's Santa, I know him. that just always reverberates in my mind about that part. I thought, hey, this man is so silly. But yeah, apparently not everybody was so happy with this movie, but it really was one of those classic movies. It was one of those movies that was really beloved. Sure was. And yeah, but apparently not everybody felt so warmed up to it. So yeah, I thought it was a little harsh on some of the commentary for this Christmas movie, but yeah, here we go. So basically, one commenter had shared that Elf, well, it's not really funny. Says Will Ferrell just screams all the time. Saw it once, don't want to see it again. And Elf, well, it's trash. Zooey Deschanel, I think is her name. Zooey Deschanel is much better than playing a role in that movie. Now, Zooey Deschanel, I know, is also a popular actress and has been for quite some time. Maybe this was her start. Everybody's got to start somewhere, right? And all intents and purposes, this movie was considered really a big time thing. So, she probably didn't think she did so shabby. And of course, you can't always please everybody. But I thought it was interesting that it wasn't as beloved as it seemed to have been. Now, again, I have not seen it myself. Maybe one day I will take the time and actually find a moment in order to watch it. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but maybe it might happen. It's a long time ago movie, and I don't mind the nostalgia aspects of it. But we'll see what happens. But if you saw this movie and you enjoy it and you love it, it's a tradition for you, or you just enjoyed it, drop it down in the comment section. Do you agree with the commentary that these two individuals had shared about this movie? Was it overrated? Sometimes, these people who are supposed to be comedians are not always as funny as, they would like us to believe that they are. But yeah, I mean, look, and Colin Farrell, he Will Ferrell really is a Colin Farrell too, I think. But Will Ferrell, look, he hadn't been hurting for nothing, has he? He just continued to have his star continue to keep rising. So yeah, sometimes he can be really, really funny though. Sometimes he can be a little silly, a little too slapstick for my take, but sometimes he can have some funny moments. And so I'd imagine it's probably one of those real silly Christmassy movies. And so maybe one day I will just take a moment and debrief and take a look. So yeah, with that, I think that'll about do it for this video. I am so glad that you were here to join me. Again, I cannot believe that we are just one day away now into the last day of this series. I think I'm going to be a little sad about that though too, but happy that we made it through, happy that I've been able to upload a video every single day for 12 days. And I am ecstatic about that. So yeah, and of course we are now into what, the eve of Christmas Eve. So I'm wondering how you guys are doing. Have you finished up everything? Have you gotten all things ready to go? Are you still running around looking for gifts and all that good stuff? Definitely drop it down below. Are you excited for the time to spend with your family and friends, or maybe to chill out, hang out yourself or whatever? Definitely leave it down below. Again, I often mention the fact that, this holiday is not always easy for everybody. So, keeping in that in thought, definitely prayers and thoughts out to everyone and to all of you as well, especially in the sense of that may not be spending the time with the ones that you really would like to be spending the time with. And if this is increasingly time that is hard for you during this season. So that definitely will not go unnoticed here, because I definitely realize and can understand. And unfortunately, it can be part of that club as well too, that it's not always the easiest time of the year when it comes to this. We try to do the best that we can, but again, sometimes it's just not the jolliest time that we would love for it to be. Now, there's always, for me, in my opinion, my thoughts, a reason for the season, so I like to continue to keep my focus on that. But I definitely hope and wish for you that you are having the best time that you can, the most peaceful time that you can, whatever that is during the season. And so, yeah, my goodness, here we are, the 11th day, wrapping this one up and going into the 12th day. So I'm super excited for that. And I am super excited for you if you've been hanging out and watched each one of these episodes here for this series. I also do have a playlist. So if you've missed any and hadn't had opportunity to go down the list on the platforms, and definitely check out the playlist for 12 days of A Scandalous Christmas Story for 2024. And all of them are laid out there, and you can kind of binge them and go through it. And definitely leave me your thoughts about, the things that I shared on those videos, because I would love to know what you're thinking and how you're feeling about those. So definitely leave those respectfully and thoughtfully down below as well. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's chat down in the community. This is one of the reasons why I love having a YouTube channel, love having my little piece of the internet here, is I love being in a community. I absolutely adore being in a community, and I'm glad for all that have been here rocking with me since the inception of this channel. And those that continue to subscribe and be a part of it. So I for sure hope and wish that if you have been here and watching and hadn't had a chance to subscribe, that you will do so. I definitely appreciate and thank all of you for your viewing and listening support. It has definitely been a blast. This year has been really a great year for the content giving out. It really has. I've really enjoyed myself, and I hope that I've been able to connect with you guys in a way that you've enjoyed yourself here as well. So for that, I think I'm going to bid you adieu. But again, if you have not had a chance to subscribe and you've been here, go ahead and hit that button and be part of the family, be part of the community, be part of this situation here, in which we can all go into 2025 hopeful. Yeah, we're gonna be hopeful. We're gonna choose that, and so yeah, and prayerful for sure. Lots of that, but definitely I hope that you are keeping safe and staying warm, and gonna have the best time that you can for the season. And for sure, make sure you have your notification bell on so you do not miss any of my future uploads, and definitely make sure you have it on, because I will be back again tomorrow for the 12th day. Yes, the final day of this series, but not the final day of uploading videos. No, never that. But definitely be back for tomorrow, and let's get into the next nostalgic moment that we will have before we are then dreaded back into the common day of what is modern time. But yeah, thank you so much for perusing and taking the travel back with me. I so appreciate it. And with that, I think I'm going to bid you adieu. You take care and be blessed. And until next time, see you tomorrow. Bye.